Welcome to another edition of Pastor Kumuyi's Illustrations.
What's the reason for God's commandments? You know that God is love. He never gives out any commandments without a reason, and that reason is always love. In Proverbs chapter 6, from verse 26, I want you to look at all these references intimately and the making up your mind that whoever it is that will lead you into adultery, into fornication, into lasciviousness, into uncleanness, into filthiness, into foolishness, into the lust of the flesh, that are going to cut away that person, whoever that person may be. Proverbs chapter 6 from verse 26. For by means of a whorish woman, an adulterous woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. That means a lifeless matter. When you commit adultery or fornication, you lose life and you are brought to just a piece of bread. And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt? You are in courtship. Answer that question. You call it whatever name you call it. You may just say, well, it's ordinary kissing. It's just ordinary getting together and just feeling free. After all, we are going to get married. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes? That's not just the clothes you put on, that's the garment of righteousness. If you say you are saved, you are putting on the garment of righteousness. If you say you are sanctified, you are putting on the white robe, the white linen, the righteousness of the saints. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt? If you are a Bible study leader and you do anything like that, you can go to the corner and snap your fingers. God be merciful to me. Cry a little, weep a little, and come and be barking here like dogs, shouting and quoting scriptures. And you'll go right back into that sin. You are burnt. Your clothes is burnt. You are naked. You don't have salvation. The garment of righteousness, the garment of praise, the white robe of righteousness is gone. Can a man, can a brother take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt? Can a sister take fire in her bosom and her clothes not be burnt? You pay for it. You call it enjoyment, you call it pleasure, but you lose your clothes. You lose your garments. And the devil comes and he finds you naked. Finding you naked of righteousness, he lays sickness upon your body. And if you make a mistake next Sunday, after that you go to take Holy Communion, you die prematurely. For the Apostle Paul said, many people are weak and sickly. And many people are dead. They fall asleep. Why? Because they go from sin to the communion table. They go from fornication, from adultery, right to the communion table. And when they disobey God like that and they slap God on the face and they work that abomination, they just begin to die. And you find believers, so-called Christians, dying at 22, dying at 33, dying at 40, even pastors, prophets, prophetess. They are dying by thousands all over the world. Why? Because they are taking fire in their bosom and their garment of righteousness is burnt and they are naked. And right from that sin they go to the communion table. Oh, you cannot slap God like that in the face and go scot-free. That's why they are dying. Look at them in their ladura houses, in the prayer houses. They go right from immorality and they go to the churchyard ringing bells, singing choruses, clapping their hands and dancing, saying that the Spirit has come upon them. If they make mistakes and go further to serve the communion and they begin to eat the communion and drink what they say is the blood of the Lord, you just find them dying. Find them dying. Almost every month you have funeral service in churches. Why? Is the Lord forgetting how to keep? Is the Lord forgetting how to heal? Why? Even gospel churches, people are dying. And almost every time they do more burial service than wedding ceremony. They do more burial service than child education. Why? Because they go from adultery, from fornication. They may call it romance. They may just call it a little sin that they are doing. But they go right from that sin into the table of the Lord, and the Lord will not take that. He will not take that. If you are still doing it in secret and you are running away saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner, well, God will want to show mercy. He'll want to forgive you. He'll want to cleanse you. But when you think that, well, you are so bold and you'll be quoting the promises of the Lord, even before some people commit the sin, they'll be quoting the promise of God, that God is merciful. Is He giving you a license to sin? Is He showing you that He'll be merciful just because you want to satisfy the lust of the flesh? Can you take fire in your bosom and your clothes not be burnt? Verse 28. Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burnt? What do you gain from it? The fire is hotter. The punishment is more terrible than whatever you may feel you are going to enjoy. So he that goeth in to his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent. Don't say you are sanctified. Don't say you are saved, pastor, when you counsel and you touch the women. You know, it happened at a time in some of the gospel churches. I won't tell you the name of the church, but it happened. One of the pastors told me himself that a fellow pastor in their own church was disciplined and removed from office. Why? A lady was sick. If any man sick, let them call for the elders of the church. If ladies are sick, shouldn't they be able to call for the elders of the church? And this woman called for the elder of the church to pray for her, laying hands upon her, a person who was sick, and he committed adultery with that sick, suffering woman. Human being, selfishness, sinfulness in the heart of man. You want to kill such a person like that when a person is sick and so weak in the body, weak in faith and suffering, that she cannot pray for herself, and wanting healing and protection, calling the elders of the church. And then a person like that will commit immorality. He will not be innocent.
I hope you have been blessed by this edition of Pastor Kumuyi's illustrations. Please don't let this illustration die. Pass it on to others, and you could be of help to someone somewhere. Till we meet next week again for another edition of Pastor Kumuyi's illustrations. Remain blessed.